Hello and welcome to Tampa Bay Right Now, a program dedicated to addressing important issues in our Bay Area, promoting awareness and providing you, the community, with information and resources needed to find solutions to these problems. I'm Allison Burns, and today we are talking about childhood obesity. Joining me is Dr. Christina Paulson, who is an obesity specialist at Pediatric Healthcare Alliance. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, thank you.
How are you?
Good, good.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, childhood obesity, is this a national issue?
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's something that we see every day in more kids.
And what about Tampa Bay? Do we see that here as well?
Of course, yeah.
So it's staggering also. I hear that it's just coming up in numbers. What would you say are the reasons for that?
I think there's a lot of factors. I think it's kind of kids are doing less exercise. Kids are spending more time, in front of the screen, moving less, eating more sugary things, eating a lot more junk food.
Right. Well,
bigger portion sizes.
Yeah, and like you said about just sitting at home with all of the things we have out now with Xboxes and PlayStations and internet, that kids really do sit at home. I know when I was a kid, we were out in the woods playing and building forts, and because we didn't have that kind of thing.
Right.
So do you think that that's one of the major problems, is the lack of activity?
I think that's a big issue, and we try to tell kids that it's okay to do a little bit of video games, it's okay to do a little bit of TV, but we really want them to limit that. The goal is to limit it to no more than 2 hours a day of screen time, and that's TV, video games, computers, total, no more than 2 hours a day. Some kids I talk to say, that's impossible.
Right. So what would you say are the long-term effects of childhood obesity?
Well, in kids, when they're bigger kids, they're more likely to get picked on, more likely to get bullied because of it. As they get older, they're more likely to have what we consider older age diseases, older problems earlier, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, diabetes. Kids are getting those things earlier and earlier now.
And so when they do grow up and they have these health problems when they're younger or when they're older, how is that affecting even us as a community as far as healthcare costs? Is that something that we're going to see kind of raise up because of the number of obesity? I
think definitely we're going to see healthcare costs rise because people are going to need more medications, more procedures, more specialist care at an earlier age.
Right. So what would you say to parents that maybe have children that are maybe on the verge of obesity or already have the problem? How can we help those kids?
It's hard sometimes. I mean, some parents realize that their kids have a problem. Some parents don't, and some parents are very resistant when you kind of bring up the growth curve, and you kind of show them that, they're at the top of the growth curve, and they're kind of a little bit heavy. And what we kind of do is we try to focus on small changes that they can make that can really make a big difference.
I'm sure it's tough for parents, because I'm a parent as well, and I know that if anyone tries to say, you're doing this wrong with your child, you get really defensive, and you don't want to think that you're harming them in any way, especially if it's family-wide, even if the parents maybe aren't eating healthy and aren't as active. So what is your approach to that? How do you sit down with an entire family? Do you focus maybe more on the parents first?
Well, it really does need to be something and changes that the whole family makes.
Right.
If you kind of single out the child that has a weight problem, that's not going to do any good. It's really changes everybody in the family has to make. And you start with the parents. The parents need to set a good example. And when they eat well, when they're active, when you do things as a family, it usually makes a big difference.
Right. So when you do talk to the children, though, because children are so, easily affected by many different things. They're going through changes not only, physically, but emotionally. In school, it's hard to fit in. So if you have a child who's obese, how do you relate to them? How do you bring this up without maybe, hurting their self-esteem or hurting their feelings? What's a good tactic?
It depends a little bit on the age of the child.
Okay.
Because, older adolescent children, you can talk to them about, a little bit more about the impact on their health, and you can talk about the impact socially, and you can talk about, things that kids would like to do that maybe they're not able to do. Like maybe they don't have enough energy to do this. And you just talk about different ways to be healthy.
Right.
Give
and I
them
think
small tips.
As far you were talking about the parents getting involved too, making it less about, hey, we need to lose weight, or, you know, you're gaining too much weight, but more about a family activity.
Right.
Let's all go out to the park. Let's all go bike riding. Would you say that that's helpful?
I think that's wonderful. Getting everybody in the family involved, doing things that are active, are very important.
And what would you say about like food? When people talk about food and different types of food to eat, is it family-wide? We need to get the whole family eating healthy.
Yes.
You know, Dad can't go and, you know, sneak a cookie and then tell the kid no. So is it a family-wide thing that you think is important?
It has to be a family-wide thing. And you talk about things that are healthier, and you talk about making healthier choices. And one thing we focus a lot about is sugary drinks. And that's everything like soda, juice, sports drinks, sweet tea, that kind of thing. We want kids to limit those. Usually we recommend no more than 1 sugary drink a day. And we'd rather kids drink more like low-fat milk or water. There's nothing wrong with drinking water. Water is good for you, and it's what people should be drinking more of.
And would you also say like maybe a cutoff time when you stop eating? I know like when I was growing up, my mom said after 8 o'clock, there's no more food.
Yeah.
Like, nothing else.
Usually no more than 2 hours before bedtime. You want to try not to eat 2 hours before bedtime. I mean, that can usually be a simple thing. And so some people, if you just cut out that late night snacking, can help make a big difference.
And do you ever deal with obese children one-on-one, face-to-face? And so what kind of progress have you seen? Maybe a story you could share with us about someone who you've affected positively.
Yeah, I have one patient. It's an adolescent girl, and she has something called polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it's you get some kind of endocrine problems. You're more likely to develop diabetes in the future. You have irregular periods, that kind of stuff. And she was really bothered by her weight because she was getting picked on in school and just didn't have very good self-esteem from it. And her mom was really involved with her and trying to help her to be active, to go to the gym, to exercise a little bit, to eat healthy. And she lost quite a bit. I think she lost maybe close to 30 pounds. And she felt fantastic. She did. That's how she felt.
So there are places that people can go to kind of reach out. Do you know anything offhand, or what would you recommend? Maybe if someone is out there and they say, my child is suffering from this, or if they're a teenager out there who's watching, what would maybe be their first step? Who would they go to?
It's good to talk to your doctor first. And sometimes your doctor might do some lab work to see if there's any problems like sugar problems or cholesterol problems or anything else involved. And then there's a bunch of resources in the community depending on where you live, where you can go to get more exercise. And sometimes we have them talk with a dietitian to teach them more about how to read labels, how to tell what foods are healthy foods, what foods are not healthy foods.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all of this information. When we return, we'll be joined by Maureen Chiudini, Associate Vice President of Membership and Programs for the Tampa Bay YMCA. Don't go away.